The Lesser Covenant.
The Bab.
The Gate. The Bab was born on the 20th of October 1819 to a wealthy and noble family. However, his father passed away when he was young and was raised by his caring uncle, who put him in a school at an early age. But the Bab had an ultimate knowledge and didn't need to go to school. The teachers attempted to tell the uncle about the Bab's knowledge. One day I asked the Bab to read from the Quran, but he said that he knew what the words signify and went on to explain the whole Quran. Said the teacher to the Bab's uncle, and he eventually took the Bab out of school.
Before the Bab declared his mission, Mullah Hussain found the Bab and came to his house to say some prayers. And it was at this time the Bab revealed who he was. Soon many people knew who he was, and the first of these peoples were called less of a living, and that their purpose was to spread the teachings of the Bab, which told people to find him whom God will make manifest, which was Bahá'u'lláh.
In the end, the government decided to execute the Bab. Anis, one of his devoted followers, loved him so much he wanted to be executed with him. When they were put up against the wall, Anis asked to have his head resting on the Bab's heart. Miraculously, after the soldiers fired and the smoke had cleared, the Bab had disappeared and Anis remained unhurt. The officials found the Bab discussing with his secretary, and he told the officials that they couldn't execute him yet, because he hadn't finished discussing matters. When they came back, the head soldier decided that he had completed his job, so the officials had to employ another troop of soldiers. This time the Bab and Anis were shot to pieces, and only the Bab's face was unscathed and was smiling.
Bahá'u'lláh, the glory of God.
The Sea of Chal is a dark and gloomy, damp and dirty prison in Akka. Bahá'u'lláh stayed there for 4 months. This is how he described it. Upon our arrival, we were first conducted along a pitch-black corridor, from whence we descended 3 flights of steps to the place of the confinement assigned to us. The dungeon was wrapped in thick darkness. Our fellow prisoners numbered nearly 150 souls, thieves, assassins, and highwaymen. Though crowded, it had no other outlet than the passage by which we entered. No pen can depict that place, nor any tongue describe its loathsome smell. Most of these men had neither clothes or bedding to lie on. God alone knoweth what fell us in that most foul-smelling and gloomy place.
Bahá'u'lláh was exiled from Tehran to Baghdad. The Rizwan Gardens. In 1863, Bahá'u'lláh publicly declared that he was the new manifestation of God. As he was leaving after being told that he had to move from Baghdad to Constantinople, his guests and people he declared to wanted to organize a leaving party. So they hired some gardens on the other side of the river for 12 days. They all brought their tents so they could sleep there. People brought all kinds of foods and flowers, and although it was a sad time for all, they wanted to enjoy their last couple of days with Bahá'u'lláh. There were a lot of roses thrown in the tents, so when the guests sat around to eat, they could not see each other because the roses were piled so high. So that is why the Garden of Rizwan is a special place.
After Baghdad, Bahá'u'lláh was exiled to Constantinople, then to Adrianople.
And finally Bahá'u'lláh was exiled to the prison city Akka.
Bahá'u'lláh died in 1892.
When Baha'u'lláh died, Abdu'l-Bahá became the centre of the covenant. Abdu'l-Bahá, the Exemplar. Abdu'l-Bahá was given the name of the Exemplar because he was the perfect example of a Baha'i. There are many stories about the amazing things that he did. Here are a couple of examples. One day Abdu'l-Bahá noticed a homeless man shivering in the cold. He walked up to him and simply took off his trousers. Then, with no fuss at all, he gave the man his trousers. Another time in Southampton, Abdu'l-Bahá was planning to sail to America. At this point, the Titanic had just been built, and Abdu'l-Bahá was given a ticket to go on board, but he did not accept it. He told the man to sell the ticket and give the money to the poor. Then he got a cheap ticket. Although Abdu'l-Bahá was not a prophet, he was an extremely amazing Baha'i. He would teach people and tell them stories about many things. They would all listen in amazement. Abdu'l-Bahá was a perfect example.
Shoghi Effendi, the Guardian.
When Shoghi Effendi found out that Abdu'l-Bahá had passed away and appointed him the centre of the covenant, he was very shocked and sad.
He was so shocked he spent 2 years in Switzerland. As Shoghi Effendi overcame his grief, he went back to Akka and explained how to elect the local spiritual assembly. After that, he also explained how to elect the National Spiritual Assembly.
Then the Universal House of Justice, the governing body and centre of the covenant for the Baha'i faith, though he never lived to see this happen.
Shoghi Effendi spent his life writing and answering many letters and translating books and tablets. He also designed gardens for the Holy Land and drew many maps.
The Guardian passed away in London in 1957 after many years of service towards the faith.
For 6 years, the hands of the cause of God looked after the faith until the first Universal House of Justice was elected in 1963.
The Universal House of Justice is now the governing body of the Baha'i faith.
The letter